2002 Amendment Bill, and when the House lifted last night, Phil Twyford had just taken the call, so he has almost 5 minutes remaining. Should he wish to avail himself of that opportunity?
Certainly do, Mr. Chairman.
Phil Twyford.
Certainly do, and good morning to the House, and good morning to New Zealanders who may be a little nonplussed that we are considering some fairly fundamental changes to our system of local government here at 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning under urgency. Again, this Minister brings a bill to the House that takes away the democratic rights of New Zealanders in local government, and again it's being pushed through the House under urgency. There's plenty to talk about in this bill soon. I'm looking forward to some detailed debate in the committee stages around the provisions of this bill. I wanted to start by explaining one of the reasons that Labor is voting against this bill in its entirety, and that is, sir, that this bill, through a number of its provisions, seeks to open up local government, the services, the assets, the resources, the systems of local government, to open them up to the private sector. And it does this in a number of ways, principally by removing the democratic safeguards that exist in the law currently that would allow citizens in communities all over New Zealand the chance to be informed, to be notified of changes in the way that assets are owned or managed, the way that services are delivered, and would give citizens the opportunity to consider that and to give input, to be consulted as part of the democratic process. And what this bill does, and we'll go through some of the clauses in detail, is that it takes away those rights. Now, Clause 11, I asked the House to look at Clause 11, which repeals Section 88 of the Local Government Act 2002. And the effect of that repeal, sir, is to take away the right that citizens in this country currently have to be consulted thoroughly when a service is being corporatised, when it's being transferred over to a council-owned company, or when a service, a public service currently delivered by the council, is being contracted out to the private sector. Now, sir, there's a reason why Section 88 is currently there. There's a reason, and it's because whether a service is delivered by the private sector or whether it's delivered in an open, transparent way, managed in the interests of the public good by our local authorities, that is a matter of legitimate public interest. And I would have thought, after the last year and a half in Auckland, that the Honourable Rodney Hyde would have discerned that the public actually care about this stuff. The public backlash that he faced in Auckland because of his corporatisation agenda for the new Auckland Council, where he's essentially consigned 3/4 of local government into these council-controlled organisations, caused a storm of public concern from the New Zealand Herald and right across the city. All of the elected mayors, there was massive public opposition, and the corporatisation agenda that he rammed through in Auckland is one of the reasons why his own personal stakes, but also the government's standing, took a real hit in Auckland over the Auckland super city. That's right. And surely that is demonstration enough that people care about it. And the reason people were concerned is that the CCO model is deliberately designed to keep the business of local government, out of the sunlight of transparency and democracy. It's designed to keep the public out. Now, the storm of public opposition about the Minister's agenda in Auckland forced some real concessions that made the Auckland CCOs far more responsive and transparent than otherwise. But those concessions won't apply to the rest of the country. They don't. So, under this bill, councils around the country can transfer services to a council-controlled organisation without consulting their ratepayers, without telling them what's going on. Once those services and assets are in a CCO, then a whole lot of other democratic safeguards don't apply. They can dispose of assets more easily without having to consult the community, and their meetings are no longer open to the public. They don't have to publish agendas or minutes. All of the normal conventions of accountable government that we take, Mr. Chairman,
Phil Twyford.
All of the conventions of accountable government that we take for granted in local government do not apply under the CCO model. That is why the current law says that the community should have the right to be consulted before services and assets and resources of local government are transferred across. Now take the transport CCO. In Auckland, Mr Hyde, against the advice of 4 government departments, sir, advised that the transport agency should be corporatised. Nowhere else in New Zealand is transport run as a CCO, as a corporate entity. But there was a huge public outcry about that because people do not necessarily want their local government services to be run by a corporate entity. People like to have access to the meetings. They like to have access to hold their politicians accountable. And this bill undermines that right. There is nothing, sir, in this bill that would prevent a council from transferring its libraries to a CCO, its parks to a CCO, its transport operation, and a council could do that. They could do that. Well, the members opposite ask why would they? Well, I ask you why that minister transferred 3/4 of Auckland local government to a CCO against the wishes of Auckland, against the wishes of Auckland's elected politicians and against the wishes of the public. So there's a perfect example of why a politician would choose to do that. He never gave the people of Auckland a say, and this bill reflects that exact same political style. The citizens of Auckland would not be given a say while their services would be corporatised. And why the members opposite cannot get that into their heads, I just don't understand, sir. This bill actually claims, the government claims that this bill would make local government more transparent and more accountable. Well, we're going to look at a whole series of examples as we go through the clauses of this bill. But this particular Clause 11, which repeals Section 88 of the Local Government Act 2002, it's a classic example of how this legislation will make local government less transparent, less responsive and less accountable. And it's all because of the ideological blinkers of this government and this minister who brazenly want to encourage privatisation and corporatisation of our local government system. They are taking away the democratic safeguards that New Zealanders expect, that they rely on. And sir, there's an important philosophical difference here between National and ACT on one hand and Labor and the Greens on the other. On this side of the House, we believe in the importance of public ownership and public control as part of our democratic system of government. It is so our communities, their resources and assets are managed in the public good, in the public interest, in a transparent and accountable way. What does this minister believe in? What do those members believe in? They are quite happy to shovel our resources and our assets that generations of ratepayers have paid for through their rates, to shovel them into corporate entities where business can be done behind closed doors with no transparency and no accountability. And they don't care because they are totally happy for our cities and our communities to be run in by an oligarchy of private interests, because that's the system they're setting up. It's the system that Rodney Hyde's been setting up in Auckland, and this bill severely undermines the democratic processes at local government, sir. And Labor doesn't believe in it, and we won't stand for it, and we will denounce it, and we will call it for what it is. This government, with the help of this minister, who's polling currently about 2% in the polls, undermining our public institutions and our system of government by taking away the right of people to be informed about their resources. I would have thought that with the experience of the last couple of years,